Breaking news. Putin should be concerned about Russia's increasing dependence on China. Russia risks becoming unduly reliant on China for commerce, despite Vladimir Putin's claims of strong relations between the two countries. According to economists, Russia segmented the globe into friendly and non-friendly countries after the West sanctioned it for the war Putin initiated in February 2022. It offered advantageous trade conditions to the former group for its exports, including oil and gas, which were crucial. As a friendly nation, China declared record commerce with Russia in 2023 and has formally taken a neutral stance on Putin's war. This surpassed the entire previous year's total, reaching $218 billion from January to November. The opening of the Yamal LNG, liquefied natural gas, projects to substantial Chinese investment, the Power of Siberia gas line, and the ESPO, Eastern Siberia Pacific Ocean, oil pipeline between Russia and Asia all played a role in the increase of trade between the two nations. Russia is also a major provider of wheat and other agricultural goods. As a result, the country is importing more consumer and industrial items from China, including automobiles, which were formerly imported from Western vendors. Economists Alexander Nobel of Russia's Gaidar Institute and Alexander Firanchuk of Russia's Center for International Trade Studies, RNIPA, cautioned that China would not choose Russia over the West if forced to choose. On December 30, they released a paper highlighting the fact that Russia sells fewer items to China than its primary commercial partners, the European Union, the United States, Japan, and South Korea, while being unfriendly to Moscow. Even though China is Russia's largest trading partner, the country's 5.1% import share and 3.3% export share is much smaller than that of the main unfriendly countries, and there are risks of declining trade in case of secondary sanctions. Russian trade with China accounts for about a third of Russia's total trade. China's dependence on the supply of industrial goods from unfriendly countries significantly exceeds its dependence on the import of Russian raw materials, according to the report. There are risks of secondary sanctions affecting the mutual trade between China and Russia, particularly if imposed against individual companies. According to Chris Weafer, CEO of Russia and Eurasia-focused strategic consultants Macro Advisory Ltd., who spoke with Newsweek, Russia is just as reliant on China for commerce as it was with the West in 2014, following a decade of shifting its focus toward Asia. The Russian economy has been saved by the surge in turnover from sanctions related to the war. But many Russian authorities and business leaders are worried that the arrangement is more beneficial to China than Russia. While China is eagerly buying energy and materials and selling Chinese-made goods to the Russia market, all of which suits Beijing, there is very little investment coming into Russia, certainly nothing like enough to replace the lost investment from exiting Western companies and investors. In October, Moscow Economic Forum speaker Sergei Sobyanin voiced his worries about Russia's pivot to the East strategy in the wake of sanctions that cut off trade, investment, and technology with the West. When asked about the East, Sobyanin stated, "Nobody wants to give technology either in mechanical engineering, aircraft manufacturing, or in microelectronics." Meanwhile, some in Russia are advocating for Russia to broaden the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, group of states in order to lessen reliance on China. This is partially due to the fact that this might provide Moscow with the opportunity to diversify its trade partners. Oil, gas, and other materials arriving into Chinese ports could be vulnerable to suspension or a blockade in the event of a major dispute with G7 nations, Weafer noted. But China now gets enough critical supplies direct from Russia to at least keep the economy working. Putin and Xi exchanged New Year messages, highlighting their strong relationship after a year of meetings between the Russian and Chinese presidents in Moscow and Beijing. In his message, Xi wrote, "Mutually beneficial cooperation has continued to achieve new results.